All right, so now let's go over to the screen capture and let's talk Intellect Devourer. So the Intellect Devourer is one of the nastiest little buggers in Dungeons & Dragons. So they're tiny aberrations, lawful evil, armor class 12, 21 hit points, 40 feet, speed, roll initiative is +2. Not much. Like, you know, they can be blown over by a swift, a stiff breeze if you have to. But the problem is that it's not like their base stats, which I think you guys have kind of seen as I've been kind of going through a lot of these series, is that it's not necessarily the stats or the like actions of the multi-attack or something like that that'll take your players out. It's going to be some of those abilities. So the Intellect Devourer, one of the first enemies in Baldur's Gate 3, as one of the people on there said, and yes, they are very ugly, sleepy sorceress. They can ruin a very low-level party's time, even with a challenge rating of 2. They're very scary for anyone to run into. So let's go over through some of the base stats still, and then we'll get into some of the other stuff. So strength of 6, nothing. Very weak, little tiny individuals, tiny little aberrations. We've got a dexterity score of 14, a con of 13, intelligence 12, 11. You can see that all there. We got a pretty good bonus to our perception and our stealth. We've got damage resistances, which, again, issues for low-level parties. If they run into these guys and they're still using mundane weapons, or they're not, like, if it's not a party of wizards or something like that, they're going to be in trouble. They're immune to being blinded as well. They have blind sight because they are, you know, they have blind sight to 60 feet. They're blind beyond that 60 feet, but still, it doesn't matter. Deep speech, but can't speak. And they have telepathy. Challenge rating 2. So, the reason why they're challenge rating 2, if you haven't figured out, is from their abilities. But really, they're a very difficult thing for... If you have a low intelligence party, which a lot of people have in the 5th edition game, because there's only so many intelligence casters or intelligence, like people who lean on intelligence in the game, you're going to run into a lot of parties that this is going to be a very nasty thing for them to take on. They go down here and detect sentience. They can sense the presence of any and location of any creature within 300 feet that has intelligence of 3 or higher, regardless of barriers, unless they're projected by mind blank. It's a special spell. It's an 8th level spell, and as you can see there, low level parties probably not going to have it. We also have a multi-attack where they have one with its claws and one with the Devour Intellect. So they can use their claws and then they can also Devour Intellect. So the Devour Intellect, basically, they can target one creature within 10 feet, and if they fail on a DC 12 intelligence save, they take 2d10 psychic damage, also on a failure. So it's tricky. So also on a failure, you then roll 3d6. If that total equals or exceeds the target's intelligence score, that score is reduced to 0. And then that target is now stunned until it gains at least another point of intelligence. So let's think about this. If we're a generally average party of adventurers, let's say we have one wizard in the party that's got a high intelligence, but then the rest of them, it's, you know, you got a fighter, you've got a paladin, cleric. You probably have some average intelligence characters on your team. So probably 10s, 12s, maybe some 8s. Depending on what they decide to dump, if they're going standard array. If they made intelligence their dump stat, look out, because this is a dangerous little bugger. Like, when you're talking 3d6, you're talking about an average roll of 10. Because of the fact, I think it's 10.5 technically, because if you think about it, 3d6, if you're taking like 3.5, you know, times 3, you're gonna get 10.5. Even most medium intelligence party members are gonna get taken down with this Devour Intellect. Here's the next problem. The Intellect Devourer can then thief a body. So they can initiate an intelligence contest with an incapacitated humanoid, which also just happens to be they have the ability to stun a humanoid that isn't protected from protection of evil and good. And if it wins, they magically consume the target's brain, teleport into their skull, and take control of their body. While they're inside the creature, the Intellect Devourer has cover against attacks and other effects originating from outside its host. The Devourer retains its intelligence, wisdom, charisma scores, also has understanding of deep speed and telepathy and traits. Also adopts the target's statistics and knows everything the creature knew, including spells and languages. If the host body dies, the Intellect Devourer must leave it. If the protection from evil and good is cast on the body, it drives the Devourer out. The Intellect Devourer is also forced out if the target regains its Devourer brain by the means of wish. By spending 5 feet of movement, the Intellect Devourer can voluntarily leave the body, teleporting to the nearest unoccupied space within 5 feet. Then the body dies, unless the brain is restored within 1 round. So, Holy crap, lot to digest. So basically what this means is that if the Intellect Devourer takes over another humanoid's body, they're dead. If this Mind Thief works, if they can win that intelligence contest with another incapacitated humanoid, they're toast. That's just basically it. They're toast. I mean, the Intellect Devourer's only got a +1 intelligence, but if they've, devoured their intellect, and so they have a score of 0, and so they're -5 on their rolls, they're in trouble. In fact, they're probably dead. So very much like, this is almost like a save or die mechanic. I mean, it's a save or die, or it's a save contest die, but if you take out the intellect of one person with this guy, and it's a 4-person party, and all of a sudden you have, like, say 3 of these guys, and all of a sudden it becomes a 3-person party, and then another one gets taken down, it can quickly death spiral very, 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 very fast. These guys are not to be trifled with. Even more dangerous than the Basilisk. I know we talked about the Basilisk and Petrification, all that kind of stuff. Petrification, you can at least heal. You can at least find a cleric somewhere to come in and take care of it, whatever. I mean, you can also find someone who can heal you from death, but that's going to cost a little bit more money than unpetrifying you. Especially if they're... what else do I need to say? Like, the fact that it can cause you to be incapacitated and then also steal your body after the fact? Bad. It's why Grog went down in Critical Role. He went down in one of the very first kind of like episodes where an Intellect Devourer ate his intelligence and he was a vegetable until they were able to get his intelligence back, which there are rules for resting to bring intelligence back and all that kind of stuff, and luckily they took this Intellect Devourer out before I could thief and steal him, but yeah, it's a nasty little bugger. If we go to some of this flavor text here, basically these guys are walking brains and they have claws and they kind of just run around. They feed on the intelligence of sentient creatures, and they're the creations of Mind Flayers. So Mind Flayers can make them and use them to hunt other humanoids in the Underdark, and they create an Intellect Devourer by taking the brain of a thrall, and they go through this ritual, and it's kind of gross, but basically the brain sprouts legs and it becomes a predator, and they basically can take over anything. Like they know the target's memories, they can cast spells, it just basically swings it from one side of the encounter all the way to the other if they can steal body, which is how a TPK happens. So that's the Intellect Devourer. Like I said, these guys are famous in Baldur's Gate 3. You better be careful when you run into them in Baldur's Gate 3, if they're using the same stat block, with the same abilities and the same saves and all that kind of stuff. Not only that, if you're a dungeon master using them in your campaign, you want to challenge your party with them, fine, go right ahead. But you make sure you use some tact with it, because they can very easily and very quickly swing an encounter. Now, they are easily also taken out very fast, and generally speaking, these guys are kind of like hit and run kind of monsters. They're not going to want to stick around and go toe to toe with somebody. I mean, look at the hit points in the armor class. They're not going to want to stand next to somebody and try to attack them like that, unless it's the wizard. But when you're thinking about what kind of party you want to put against them, if you got a party of really low intelligence creatures and they're in first tier of play, probably not the best unless you only put one of them in there. I would be scared to put more than one. And if you try to match it up, I would say that it's kind of, you're gonna turn this around very fast. If you're going against a higher level party, you can use a few more of them. Now, again, you have to kind of use some tact, because if your party has, average to low intelligence, like if everybody dumped intelligence, which I don't like, but a lot of people do. That's why intelligence needs more uses in D&D, or at least in the 5th edition game. But if they dumped intelligence, it's bad. So that's the Intellect Devourer. Like I said, these guys are nasty little buggers. They are pets of Illithid, and are great for your kind of if you're thematically trying to create almost like an alien-esque kind of encounters, a lot of stuff in the Underdark, or really messing around with the idea of the Illithid and the tadpoles with the Mind Flayers and all that kind of cool stuff, a la Baldur's Gate and Baldur's Gate 3. So yeah, I hope you guys learned something. If you haven't already, make sure you check out the YouTube channel. Links for that are going to be down in either the tags here on Twitch, or if you're on YouTube watching this, you already know about that. Make sure you check out the Twitch stream. We have a live stream game on Wednesday this week. Dice giveaway at the break. Make sure you check that out. Links below. Also, if you guys haven't, we have a Discord server that actually we talk about, different monsters, different kind of player character builds, different styles of dungeon mastering. We have memes, we talk about campaign theories, all that kind of cool stuff. There's a link for that down below. I hope you guys learned something about this Intellect Devourer. He's a nasty little bugger, and until next time, happy gaming.